Hey guys, JK95 here. Today, I will be grading your Titanic movie essays for the Titanic movie homework assignment that I assigned a few weeks back. And now, I will be presenting to you your graded essays, and I will be telling who got an A+, and who got a big fat 0. So, a few weeks ago, I assigned a homework assignment on the movie Titanic. I told you all to go watch that movie, tell me what you thought of it, tell me how it made you feel, and come up with a creative essay on why it's tied with Kingdom of Heaven for my #1 favorite movie of all time. Several of you wonderful people in my comments section wrote me their essays, and I'm here to grade them now. A couple of you got an A+, another couple of you did not so good, one of you got a big fat 0. So now I will be reading the essays and telling you who got an A+ and who did not. We are going to start with JWO Squadron's Titanic essay. Even though I wouldn't even call it an essay, it's like one sentence long. So I'm going to read what it says. Once upon a time, there was a bunch of gay queers on a boat. It sank and nobody cares. The end. Well, JWO Squadron, you got a big fat 0 for just one sentence. You didn't even bother watching the movie, and you lack creativity, so that's a big F- and a 0 for you. Next up, we are going to be reading Salsy's Titanic essay. Here's part 1 of what he wrote. No man, here's the story. There was a movie called Titanic starring Leonardo DiCaprio and some annoying hoe that said, "Not without you!" It made you cringe. The end. Edit. This is a summary story, but maybe it could be a prologue to warm the audience up. I was initially going to give you Salsy a D- just for writing that, but then what you wrote next made me change my mind. As a romantic fail, which represents the biggest troll of the dice in film history, will send viewers in search of dildos for the title to describe the film's size and scope. The dynamic of the central love nightmare between a brash, quick-scoping, bold faggot from Texas and an upper-class young slutty tramp bursting the streets her gilded vagina is as effective as it is corny. And will definitely help put the picture over with the largest possible social degenerate nerd public. The slow-paced 3-hour fuckfest, which has world premiere at the homosexual film festival on Sunday morning, is certain to do exceptionally crappy at the box office, and Paramount's $60 million waste of time for U.S. rights on a $200 million plus production has to be one of the biggest bargain prostitution shit show deals of the godforsaken century. I don't. This is Salsy. You're gross, a little funny, a little on the anti-PC side, but not that matters. You, sir, got a A, maybe even an A+. And now, on to Nitro Junkie said, "Just fucking block me. That movie isn't even in the top 100. That dude who played Rose really creeps me out." Well, Nitro Junkie, you just got yourself a big fat 0. You're not even worthy of an F-. And you have to be freaking blind to think that the actress who played Rose was actually a dude, or you'd have to be like completely, totally, irredeemably stupid to believe that. So that's why Nitro Junkie, you're not even worthy of enough minds. You just got a big fat 0. And now the best for last: Extreme Dread's Titanic movie essay. That movie is as old as hell. And the bromance in that was so great that Oregon Thumb, aka Joker's Wild, wanted Sippin' Salsa to stretch his arms wide and stand behind him as Jack and Rose did their famous pose on the front railing of the ship. Yes, it's a true story. Jack and Rose weren't the only romantic couple on board. Joker's wild and Salsa were in love to the point where they watched Jack and Rose closely, stole their pose, and added a secret ingredient to it. The famous Lion King scene where the baboon introduced Simba, because we all know Joker's wild as a midget and needs to be uplifted to their wonderful relationship. Well, once again, Extreme Dread, your essay got an A+, maybe even an A++. One for creativity, and although I saw a couple grammar errors in there, I can look past that. So, from best to worst, Extreme Dread's essay was the best, followed by Salsies, and then JWO Squadrons was the second worst. Nitro Junkies was the worst. Extreme Dread, A++, Salsi, A, borderline A+, JWO Squadron, F-, Nitro Junkie, big fat 0. And now I will tell you the real reason why Titanic is tied with Kingdom of Heaven for my top all-time favorite movie, number 1 on my list. So the real reason I love Titanic so much, and it's tied for first for my number 1 favorite movie of all time, is because that movie was almost like a love story almost, and aside from the draw me like one of your French girl scenes and like the love between like Jack Dawson and Rose DeWitt, whatever, or should I say forbidden love, because Rose was like a rich girl betrothed to somebody she hated, and Jack was like a poor struggling artist hoping to make it in America with a bunch of his friends from like Ireland and Italy. The reason it's my favorite movie is because the character Jack Dawson I can relate to so many ways. Like one, like he's a real artistic person and kind of thinks just like me a little bit and so forth. But most importantly, that draw me like one of your French girls scene really kicked off my creative career. Even though I've already been like into like drawing and like artistic stuff before that, it was that scene in that movie that prompted me to improve my craft and my skill and branch out into other forms of creativity, such as writing fantasy fiction and making hip-hop and rap music and songwriting and whatnot. That scene in Titanic really kicked off my writing career and all my other creative careers too, and improved my craft so much. I was like 12 and a half, 13 years old when I saw Titanic for the first time. And when I saw that draw me like one of your French girls scene, I thought to myself, I want to be just like Jack in that aspect one day. As did a lot of teenagers who saw that movie at a young age and had cool parents who let them watch that when they were teenagers or borderline preteens. But I actually followed through, while other teenagers who may have seen that movie at a young age probably were or watched it behind their parents' back, or either didn't follow through or were just blowing smoke. I actually followed through, and part of the reason I was allowed to watch it from such a young age is because I was well above average intelligence for my age at the time. I was like ahead of a lot of my peers in certain areas, and that I've always been a huge history buff and a big science buff as well, and Titanic really caught my interest for a very long time. And when I did my homework, that's part of the reason I was allowed to watch it when I was 12 and a half, 13. And plus I had cool parents who weren't like super strict or super religious or whatever. Same thing with the video game Dante's Inferno and the movie Bram Stoker's Dracula, both of which I played and watched at 14. Bram Stoker's Dracula was technically my first NC-17 film, since that technically got an NC-17 rating but was re-rated R after being edited. And the reason my mom let me watch it at 14 was because, once again, we saw a brief clip of the intro sequence in my 9th grade world history class, and I had done a lot of learning on my own and reading on my own. I read the first few chapters of the book, several chapters of the book first, before watching the movie. Even though I didn't finish the book, it was still good. And also, the Bram Stoker's Dracula was my first movie by Francis Ford Coppola of the Godfather series and Apocalypse Now. Francis Ford Coppola, James Cameron, and Stanley Kubrick are a few of my favorite movie directors of all time. I'll explain that another time. And the reason I was allowed to play the video game adaptation of Dante's Inferno at 14, even though that game had like full frontal nudity, naked breasts everywhere, and tons of gratuitous sexual content, because I had read the book in my 9th grade world history class and reread parts of it on my own, so I did my homework first, so that's part of the reason why I was allowed to play that at 14, and I had cool parents too, unlike a lot of teenagers. So there you have it. I graded your Titanic essays. Extreme Dread, you got an A++. Salty, you got an A, borderline A+. JWO Squadron, you got an F-. Nitro Junkie, you got a big fat 0. The reason Titanic's my favorite movie of all time is because the Draw Me Like One of Your French Girl scene and the character Jack Dawson kicked off my creative career to where I am today. And it's an awesome love story in the first half of the movie, and then the bittersweet ending just makes me want to cry. And also the film talks about deals with the subject of impossible love, which has always kind of been an issue for me. So the character Jack is pretty relatable to me. And that is it for today, folks. I'm going to be getting more videos out in the coming weeks. And then just a reminder, on 12/31/19, my first mixtape is dropping. Closing out the 2010s, bringing in the roaring 2020s. And I will be putting up my mixtape in playlist formats, as I'm going to have 9 tracks on that tape. So there'll be 9 videos in playlist format. That's all, folks. JK95 here. Peace out.